Well, kia ora everybody and welcome back or welcome to the Canterbury Rugby Coaches Corner podcast. Today we're joined by two awesome guests currently doing some really amazing and big things in the female rugby space within our community here in Canterbury. So we've got Liz Worthington, who is on the screen, and next to me, Mr. James Sprott. Oh, Josh Sprott. Geez, James.
That's a new one.
Yeah. AKA Sprotty. So just a little intro of Liz. So Liz is our amazing female in school RDO here at the Rugby Union, but she's also just recently been appointed as the FPC development coach or the women's development coach. Well done.
Thanks, James.
And she's a big evangelist for female rugby and female sports, and just help growing the game and growing that female space as much as she can, with her awesome outlook on why not or why can't this happen. So it's cool to have you on, Liz. And then old Sprotty next to me. He's got a huge list of things that he's done, but most recently UC Premier Women's Team Coach. He's also worked for the Ford Foundation and currently got a role at Sport Canterbury. Yeah. And so he's, again, another big advocate for female rugby. But you also find him on the 5 metre line during the touch season as well. So if you're looking for some nimble feet, my man's got you. So welcome both. How are we all? Liz?
Fantastic. I'm feeling, after that intro, man, I'm feeling on top of the world. The girls actually that I've been coaching this, I lost my boots, right? I lost my boots this year. It was my own fault. I left them in the car park at UC. And then so they were black, and the last few years I've had black boots. And so this year I decided, that's it. I'm going to go for the brightest boots I can find, so that I never lose them again. So I've got bright orange boots. The girls give me crap for it, but the nimble feet.
You've got the boots to match them now.
I do. Yeah. Just got to match the actual nimble feet.
Awesome. And things well with you, Liz? I know that we've only just seen each other about 15 minutes ago.
Things are good. Ticking away. Obviously, been busy working on this FBC Canterbury Development Women's piece. Yep. So awesome to get the green light on that this week and get the girls out on the grass and ready for our first game this weekend.
Cool, amazing, awesome work. Hey, I guess the best way that we can get our community kind of introduced to who you guys are is maybe you can paint us a wee picture or take us on a wee journey of like how you guys got into coaching. Liz, do you want to kick us off? What was your coaching journey?
So my coaching journey started, should be almost 6 years ago now. Had been playing some rugby out at BDI, their women's team out there, played for the season, finished up, had a really, really great time, and then found out that I was expecting our third child, so potentially not wise to continue playing. No. And then the local college had not long opened, and they were trying to promote girls rugby and was looking for a coach to come on board and support the teacher / coach they already had there, Hayley Tip lady. And so I jumped on board. I was like, oh, cool, yeah, I'll give that a crack. And, got into it and really liked it and really liked that development piece. And then at the time, sort of Canterbury, Ellesmere were trying to work on a piece on developing club rugby in the weekend for girls that were under the age of 16. So jumped on that and was really passionate on helping get that off the ground. Sort of became the coach of the Ellesmere under 16 girls, which progressed into being taken on by Prebleton. Coached there and then headed out to Lincoln Uni when I decided I wanted to kind of move up into women's. And then inside that space as well, I've done some coaching in the Canterbury under 18 girls space alongside Sprotty as well, which has been really, really exciting. And just the more I got into coaching, the more I just absolutely loved it. I loved watching the girls grow and develop, and it's just a space I've become really passionate about. So definitely hung up the boots and now just 100% focused on that coaching piece.
Oh, awesome. That's real wicked. Sprotty, how about yourself, bro? How do you find yourself with whistle?
Yeah. Well, coaching was something that I'd never really thought of really going down, because I was always, well, like Liz, I was always into playing my sport. I actually grew up playing hockey, and you may have heard just before, playing a bit of touch footy and football, pretty much everything that any Kiwi kid gets to try. So jack of all trades, master of certainly none of them. And it wasn't until I think I was at university that, this is 2011, I had a phone call out of the blue from the Middleton Grange sports coordinator around coaching their senior girls hockey team. And again, I didn't really want to, but I said yes because that's what I do, right? Yeah. As I say yes, and that began, I suppose, 11 year journey of coaching females and through sport. So whether it was through hockey or touch, predominantly in those first early years, I didn't actually coach rugby until 2018. I ended up, it was my ex-girlfriend, her uncle, he coached an under-12s team because his son played in them. And I thought, oh man, I'd love to help you out. Me being me, wanted to extend myself and help others. And I was in a pretty, I wasn't enjoying the role I was in terms of my work or my career, because I was working in a different sector to what I am now, HR and health and safety. Yeah. Shout out to all those who love HR and health and safety. And then from there, obviously, once I started coaching, one of my close friends, Jimmy Sinclair, the master coach, he was in my ear for the next 4 years, as well as getting to meet some really awesome people like BB and Mike Wilson as well, who have really shaped my coaching career. Liz has had a big part of that, and as well as Whitney Henson. So I've been well supported along the way. But yeah, I never really played rugby. So everything I know about rugby, I've learned in the last 4 years. But what I've learned in the last 4 years is potentially more than what some might learn in a lifetime, based on who I've got to connect with. So I'm really grateful for the relationships and opportunities that I've had through my coaching journey so far. Yeah, that's both of those stories are real epic. HR to coaching. I couldn't imagine. Geez, that is a big leap, going from paperwork to grass. So I know that's awesome. It's funny because working in HR and particularly health and safety, you can imagine that whenever I walked in a room, people would walk out. But now it's the opposite. People are actually asking me to come into the room. So it was a no-brainer, really. Yeah, because even yourself, Liz, you were with early childhood. I can remember having to drop my youngest off to you and your capable hands and stuff like that. So that's also kind of a big shift, isn't it, within your life, to go from early childhood into the sporting environment, or full noise rugby environment?
Yeah, it was a big shift and a big change. I had been sort of teaching in that EC environment for nearly, I think, 15 years. A big piece of my life was that. And I just think through the opportunities I got with coaching and building those connections, and like Sprotty said, like just meeting some really epic, great people, just like led to an opportunity to get in the doors at Sierra Few and to be in my current role. Because I think growing up, I'd never thought I'd work in sport. Like, it was not a something at the top of my head or anything like that. I was like, oh, cool, we'll go teaching, or maybe become a midwife or something like that. And rugby just opened quite a few doors for me, which has been really exciting.
No, that's awesome. Hey, and we talked at this before we hit record. We talked about the conversations that we're about to have. It's just around coaching females. So I guess I'll chuck this question to you first of all, Sprotty. Being a male in the coaching in the female space, how daunted were you? Obviously, you've done it for a wee while now, but how daunting was it for you to decide to go down that female coaching space?
Yeah, great.
As a male,
great question. So, Yeah, like I mentioned before in the intro, I had a phone call about whether I wanted to coach, a group of high school girls playing hockey, and I didn't even factor that in, that they were girls. It was more, did I actually want to coach? And once I said yes, I guess that started a lifelong love of being engaged with and coaching young females and or just young women and females in general. So I guess I personally never felt that feeling of oh goodness, what am I getting into? This is crazy. I've always felt really accepted, and I feel I guess that comes down to me being me and being quite open to building relationships and really. That's the big part for me is building the relationship, and I think that's where I've found success, and where I haven't found success, I can reflect and say that maybe it was a relationship piece that didn't work so well, because coaching females is they're people, and there are obvious differences. One thing I did learn is that the females, they love a hui. So I guess in a male environment, which I suppose I was always a player, and I never have coached in a male environment, but it's around the boys. The boys have to do things to learn, whereas the girls, or to feel valued. And the girls' side of the game, it's around providing them that opportunity to discuss, and they get value from being a part of a discussion or feeling a part of the conversation, part of the group. And so that's certainly one thing that I've taken away over the past 10 years, is provide the opportunity for young women to have their say, and provide them an opportunity to feel valued in that space.
That's real cool. And I guess probably Liz, Sprotty touched on something real cool there around that relationship. How important, or around building relationships and building connections, how important is that for, I guess, like in coaching in general, it's pretty important. Is there any differences that you've seen when you've been in like your coaching environments around that relationship piece? Like, how important is that within the female space? Like, is there any more importance? That was a very long question.
I guess over the years and spending time in an array of different environments, like absolutely is a really important piece, whether it's in the female game or the male game. I think we've got into a space now where we are really mindful and acknowledge that girls really thrive on like knowing the person before the player, and girls often, I guess, like run on emotions, and they potentially will overthink a situation, and being able to have really good sort of communication in a relationship with a coach or leadership girls within a team or whatever it may be, it does create great value to the overall environment you are trying to create. I think like just recently we've seen a lot of shift across the game in the male space as well, and that's becoming really like prominent on how important it is actually on building those relationships. For me, like it's something we often will promote in the female game, is that you can kind of come in and coach these girls, but ultimately if you build that relationship, you're going to have great outcomes, and those girls will continue to show up. They'll put in the extra effort for you. They'll return the next year, and to me, like that's success as a coach. It's not about getting out and winning competitions. It's about getting out and getting the best out of your players and then returning. So valued piece and coaching, but across the board, not just females. It's
awesome to hear that it's not just kind of just in females, that it is also in that, and well, it crosses over, doesn't it? Everything interlinks. Like as soon as we make a connection with somebody and we can build that trust, and you can build like a sense of security. Like I know that we talk about safety a bit, but if you build a sense of like security, that they feel safe and secure within their environment, like you were touching on there, Liz, like you're going to get a lot out of your players, and you, Sprotty, said it awesome, or you said it in a really awesome way. Boys feel that value and being able to just do and that type of stuff. And it's cool, I guess, for our coaches in our communities to know that connection with being able to just talk. Like if you can sit there and talk. I know as coaches we love to talk. So it probably almost feeds our own not egos, but our own sense of purpose within the group of being okay. Well, if you want to know all the language and you want to know all the terminology and you want to know all the information, I've got to hear it comes. But no, that's cool. What's kind of the biggest thing that you see? And this question's for you, Liz. What's some of the biggest things that you see out in the community within this female space that it's just super rewarding when you see these girls out playing and what their coaches are doing? Like, are there any coaches that you think, mate, they're doing some outstanding stuff? And feel free to highlight them as well.
Yeah, I mean, we've got some really great coaches out within the women's game or female game in general. It's probably a space that can be a struggle sometimes to get resource into. A lot of people, I guess, are unsure or maybe not as interested as jumping into the males game. So when we do get some of those champions into our game, like, we absolutely just really appreciate it, acknowledge, and just try and support where we can. Yeah, we've got some really great people in our clubs that have put in some really great time and energy, and they're there for the right reasons. Obviously, Sprotty himself, that's why he's here today, has done some great stuff and really prominent on building those relationships, like massive on knowing that person before the player. Both him and Mike create a really great fun environment where the girls are, whether or not in our female game, we don't have multiple grades, so we have girls coming in from all ranges of experience. So it may be just sharing some language or terminology or uplifting or giving a new player some confidence to really probably pushing those experienced girls that have been playing rugby since they were 5. And you can tell the great environment they've created by, those relationships they have with those girls. Yeah, across the board, we've got some great people. Sort of inside high school old boys, the RDO there, Jamie Livingston and his wife Anna, have done some great things in the female space. They're both really, really passionate. Livo also is doing some stuff at Girls High and has been for a few years and sinking a bit of time and energy. To me, the biggest stuff that I see out there is probably the stuff that happens off the grass. We all know sometimes once we hit the grass, we do get a little bit competitive and that nature sets in. But that's the nature of the game. Like, these are competition grades, and at the end of the day, you are playing to have success. So for me, the stuff that I see is really great is all the off the grass. It might be just trainings or social connections or the joking around they have with each other and that type of stuff. So I think lucky with all our teams, all our clubs, we've got some really great people.
Yeah, Liz raised a really good point there around success, and it's up to, I suppose, the coaching community to define what success means for their players and for themselves and for their unit. So for some, it is around winning championships and medals and things, which is fine. But like Liz alluded to, for some, it might be around connecting communities or starting a new club or like helping underprivileged kids or helping other people just find a sense of purpose through a joint meaning. So yeah, like redefining or shifting what success looks like, and being really courageous and brave around challenging, I suppose, the traditional mindsets around the competitive nature of things. And it's tough because we know like levels of perspective. So mental models are always pretty tough to shift, but it only takes one person to be courageous or to throw out a question or throw out a tricky statement to help that shift happen. So yeah, redefining success. That's something that's probably helped me in the last few years with coaching was going, all right, well, I'm focusing a lot on, or I'm defining how good I am as a coach on winning and losing, as opposed to how many things I know about my players. So if I know three facts about all my players, then to me as a coach, that's success. To the team, It might not be. They might go, oh, that Josh guy is always being a bit
nosy,
yeah, being a bit nosy, but it's just, it's because that's what I define success as.
Yeah, and that's probably a real wicked way to frame it. Like, we've had this conversation heaps around redefining success, and you can look at it from a club level around winning premierships and stuff like that, where like they don't really celebrate the fact that they've been around for 150 years or however many years that they've been around, that there's success. Like, businesses look at like the amount of dollars that they make, but actually they probably look at more of the longevity of their business still being relevant and stuff like that. So, and you touched on a really cool point around purpose, like a sense of purpose. Like, if you can make something a little bit bigger than just outcome, because winning's just an outcome, like, and it's a cool, like, don't get me wrong, I'm competitive as the next person, like, winning's cool, but if you can have a greater sense of purpose, you don't kind of feel like you're let down if you don't win that game or win that championship or that title. But maybe it's because I haven't won so many, so I'm kind of accustomed to it. But if there is a bigger picture, like, there seems to be a bigger buy-in and a bigger connection, and almost, or as well, to go back to one of the coaches that you were talking about, Liz, like Livo, like, I've seen the dude in action working with those Christchurch High girls, and like, he is outstanding. Like, the way that he, I think for like, and he's a big dude as well, like big as in like he's a lot taller than me. He's an ex-front rower. But like he's super comfortable around them, which is quite cool to see. The language that he uses is wicked. You go in there, he just knows how to really create a wicked environment for the girls and for the girls that he's coaching, and they just thrive off it and they feed off it and that type of stuff. And you just see, you can kind of see how dominant they've been with in recent years, because of, I guess it comes down to that work that Livo's put into them. But he cares about them on a different, like, he still wants them to be able to catch and pass and that's, but you can see that he cares about them because they're trying to get it right. So he's going to do his best to make sure that they get it right. So yeah, it doesn't matter if you're a big dude or us guys that are the last of the feeding bowl, like, like it's, you can still feel the girls, they also want you to feel comfortable to be able to coach. Would I be right in saying that, Liz?
Absolutely. And I just think that the girls just ultimately want you to 100% buy into them, into the environment, into the team. It's not you've just ended up here because no one else put their hand up. Like, the girls just like want you to be there, and someone like Livo is that person. And I even kind of thinking about that, like Norm out at Kaipoi, like, he's been such a massive driver in their women's and under 17 space for such a long time. And without those passionate people on the grass, like, a women's space or a female space just wouldn't exist, because it takes a lot of driving, it takes a lot of pushing. It's quite often, for a long time, hasn't been a priority in a lot of our rugby community. So without those key drivers like a Norm or a Livo or, like a Mike and a Sprotty that are really advocating for the game, like, we just can't get anywhere, and we don't get any growth. But over these last few years, like, things have really started to change, which is really exciting.
Yeah. And how important, and I guess we'll pivot just a little bit, but I'd imagine that there's a lot of girls that are coming into this, and we've had a chat with Mike around ages and stages, but it's actually probably in the female space, it's probably more abilities and stages. Like, you've got girls that are come in, and Sprotty, you'll probably, both of you is probably awesome to talk about this. Like, you've got someone at UC, someone like Ken, who's now just the most capped black fern, and she comes and plays club rugby. But then you can have like another girl come in, and she could be, she might have only been playing for a year. She could have only just picked up a pair of boots and turned up to training on a Tuesday night. Like, how is probably the like how do you, can you talk us through, first of all, Liz, can you talk us through, like, because that's a wicked challenge, isn't it, to have to challenge someone like Kenj to be able to like help her grow, but to also cater to this other athlete, and she's just started and she just wants to put her boots on and get out there and play. Or like Shannon, for example, in our community team, like on the commercial side, like she's just started playing rugby for the first time. How wicked is that?
Yeah, it's wicked, and that's what the female game is that you do have, we are lucky that our Black Ferns are still in our community and in our clubs, and, girls get to play alongside them and against them and gain some knowledge from the experience they do have. But then, we do have girls that are, rolling into uni, or they're leaving high school, or, all those sorts of things. And they think, oh, cool, I want to give rugby a crack, or they meet a friend, or, all those sorts of things come into action. So then, we don't have multiple grades. And, this year we have been lucky, and we have implemented a Women's Premier Reserve 10s grade, which has helped sort of fill a little bit of a void in that space. But some of our 15s teams still, are home girls that are just coming into rugby. And, as a coach, I think that is a really challenging aspect, is like, how can I meet the needs of all the players in this environment, and what does that look like? Because you can't just roll in and you don't have a group of people that are all at the same experience or ability level. So you have to be really creative on how you meet those needs, and it can be around some specific goal setting, or through those relationships and those conversations that you set stuff. So there might be stuff happening off the grass, like for Sprotty and Mike with Kenj, and they might challenge her in different ways, because she's in some really sort of high performance environments. So where what can we be doing in a training to help a girl that's learning how to throw and catch a rugby ball for the first ever time, totally new concept. And for me as a coach, I really focus on really small achievable goals. So heading into a week of training or a game, it might just be around catch pass, that's all I want from you, is if you can catch, potentially carry the ball and maybe pass it, absolute win, and breaking it down in small bits. But I guess you don't want to simplify your training too much that you lose the top end. So I quite often will say to players, there'll be aspects of training that you'll get some really great content out, and there'll be others that you think, okay, cool, but just enjoy those moments. So some of it might be, if you're inexperienced, that it just blows over your head and you're like, oh my gosh, cool, maybe next season it'll all click and you'll get it. And then same vice versa for the girls that are experienced. There'll be some stuff where you think, oh my gosh, I've been doing this for 15 years, but live in the moment, and this is your moment to have some fun at training. This is your non-serious, you can share your knowledge, you can have a play around you can have a bit of fun. And just, I guess, trying your best to meet those needs, whether it's the training that week or across the season. But challenge.
How do you balance it, bro? You're out there, you're on the grass. Liz and I we're here watching from afar.
Ivory Tower.
Yeah, behind the green fence. But how do you balance it?
Yeah, just as Liz was talking, a few ideas or a few thoughts just popped into my head, and I guess challenge is relative. So if you've only coached, say you've only coached elite males, right, and then you go into an environment where, say, a Div 3 environment, or a high school B team environment where there is a slightly larger range of player ability, then you probably do see that as a really big challenge, because you've only ever coached one certain type of player. Whereas I guess the Liz's in the world and the Mike Wilsons, they've coached players at the top, and they've coached players that have come along. Literally, we had a girl come down this year, who was just at the park, and I don't know, Mike saw her and he said, "Oh, you played footy?" She goes, "Nah," and then he goes, "Come give it a go." And she joined. Next training, she was there.
Yeah,
and never played footy before. So I suppose it goes down to your own ability to comprehend what the challenge is, be able to identify what the challenge is, and it is a challenge, right? You're coaching players that have had significant training and experience in their playing careers, as well as at the other end those that are brand new. But it's not to say that those players at the top it's not to say that they don't value learning.
Yeah.
And to be honest, if everyone in your environment values learning, then there is something for them to take away. And as a coach, it's around going, identifying who your players are. For example, for instance, it helps if they also know who they are. So we've done a bit of work around the personality profiling, and this year we've made a real effort to actually talk about the mental side of the game, because there's some of us are aware, there's the performance triangle. So you've got your mindset, your skill set, and your structure.
Yeah.
What do we focus on most? It's skill set, and then second it's structure, and then we'll do a little bit of mindset, which might be toughen up or like put your head in dark places or whatever it might be, but actually putting a conscious bit into looking at that part of the game and going again, we're harping on a little bit about the relationship stuff, but knowing who your players are, so you can know if they like to be challenged, if they want to be put out of their comfort zone. Because I've got players in our environment. We've got players in our environment that they don't want any positive feedback, right?
Yeah.
They just want to hear what's next. What can I improve on? Right. So if I and that's not just to say that's the skill set or the structure stuff.
Yeah.
It's also you're playing in a Super Rugby environment or an FBC environment. What are your aspirations? And they might talk about leadership, or they might talk about they want to be a coach one day. So it's okay. How can I support you to develop those skills that aren't necessarily going to impact our game this week, but they'll impact our team environment hopefully positively over the course of 12 to 24 months. And then it's the same at the other end of the spectrum. What do you want to get out of this experience? And they might just say, I want to fit in, or I want some friendships, or I want to learn how to cross-field kick like Te Reo Oriwa, so then it's going, sweet, now we've got a baseline. So now every time I connect with you, it can be how many kicks you've done this today. And then if you connect with someone else who's wanting to develop their leadership, then it's around those outside of rugby tasks and homework and things that they can come and bring to you. Because I suppose as coaches and as teachers and people who share knowledge, we sometimes get guilty of doing just that. We share first rather than hear first, and then if we flip that and we listen and then share, then they'll feel the care. There's care there.
No, that's wicked, and it kind of almost feeds in. And you've done enough of these courses alongside me, Liz, like that achievement piece in that FABS model. Like if we look at what does achievement look like, and from what I'm picking up from both of you guys, like someone just new to the game, achievement could look like just run, catch, pass off their left, right hand. And if they can complete that for the season, hey, what a wicked season that they've had. Where you look at someone that is a little bit more experienced, or how many opportunities did you get to show leadership and that type of stuff? Did we foster an environment that helped you grow your leadership? And there goes another little bit of achievement, but yet they're still on the same playing field, aren't they? They're not kind of, no one's outranking the other as important, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. So again, it's I spoke to a couple of players this morning who talked about that, and it's around creating friendships and relationships that take away the hierarchy. And and we use Kenj as an example, but it could be anyone in the FPC or Black Ferns environment where you hear people giving them a bit of stick or a bit of banter, because no one's position outranks anyone else. There's and I suppose it goes back to, there's still the respect part. So if everyone respects everyone, then you will acknowledge that in the way that you listen, or the way that you take in the knowledge that is being shared with you, or and that. So that's taking away the hierarchy is as quite important, or removing the feeling of a hierarchy. because it's natural, right? Because there's coaches, and then there's a captain usually, and then there's different experience levels of players. How to break that down is different in every environment, but that's again one of the challenges or opportunities as a coach, especially in the community game, where the gap in experience can be quite great.
Yeah. And just for just so we all know, like we've highlighted some awesome work around kind of what well, you mentioned it just quickly before around that development 10s team. You've now launched, or you got off the ground finally a FPC development team that kind of will help give those girls that don't get to play or aren't selected in the FPC teams some opportunities to still carry on playing rugby this season so that they are ready. Can you give us a rundown, Liz, on like some of the other awesome stuff or highlight some really, really cool initiatives that you've done? Because like you said, or at the top of it, you have got like a really good why not perspective around females. Like, why can't we do this? Like, what's stopping us?
I guess like I'm coming up 2 years in my role now. For a long time, I was out in the community and always felt like I was banging my head against a brick wall or, questioning why there weren't the right decisions or opportunities being granted when everything's kind of sitting in front of you. Probably what led to me coming into this role was like, I can't just be the person complaining like whether it's over at the end of the phone or via an email, that actually if I can get in and try and implement change like wicked, touching on just our newest initiative around that Canterbury Women's Development Space is that, we currently have 8 teams sitting in our premier competition, women's teams, and we have for a good amount of time. And we have brought in this Prem Reserve 10s comp as well. And we've got this large pool of women playing across Canterbury, but one opportunity for outside club rugby to be involved at a representative level or even development level. And if you think about I think was it like 38 players or something that got named yesterday in FPC, and the amount of players we have registered at our clubs, like that's not great odds in terms of opportunity. Pushed and said, cool. The rest of the South Island were really keen for something extra as well. So Otago are running a development side. Southland Women's are wanting to get into FPC. Like they're the same. They want to create opportunity for the girls that still live in their districts, which has allowed us to kind of develop this really cool piece and be a part of. Everyone seems really, really excited, and we've managed to get some great coaches on board. So obviously it's myself and then Fraggle or Melissa Roscoe, who's done FPC for the last, I think, 5 or 6 seasons. And then Jimmy Sinclair as well. So some great knowledge and experience. And I think the girls are really excited to have something else outside of maybe a wider training, like rotation over a few weeks, and actually get out and play some games. And then that Prem Reserve 10s, we've kind of been looking at it for the last probably couple of seasons around how can we grow the game. Some of our teams had some really large numbers, like UC, for instance, the high school old boys, were getting into this position where they did have a really big overflow. You don't want to turn anyone away from the game. They come to your club for specific reasons, whether it's they live close or they've got friends there. So what else could we be doing? We've got teams that wanted to re-establish or create a team for the first time, and like 15s is tough. Like to get probably 30 odd players that you need at least to try and make the season work. That's rough when you're starting off. So we thought, actually, let's bite the bullet. All we can do is try it. Let's roll with the 10s and hope we'll grow it to a 12s and then a 15s, because 10's easy to get. You kind of need maybe 13 to 15 girls max. Rolling subs. It's about good time. It's about development, and it's been really well received. It's been awesome having some great Friday night footy with the girls taking the field for night games. We've seen Geraldine come into that space. So South Canterbury again didn't have a female women's competition, so nothing outside of high school. It meant they've been able to get involved and give something to their communities. Our under 16s now has been going we're in our 5th season. Originally started at under 16s. We promoted it to 17s because there was a really common trend of girls in that year 11 to 12 coming into rugby for the first time. And some of them were either getting one season and having to move to women's, or only having the opportunity to go straight into women's. I think we're going to see the grade grow again next year, just by the sounds of things. And we should see another club entered into that space, which is exciting. This year we tried to put in an under 13 and an under 11s, and unfortunately we're somewhat unsuccessful. Successfully, we've had an under 13 team which has been driven out of Christchurch, which is really, really exciting. And I've also got an under 11 side, so they're really passionate about the growth of the women's game or female game in their club, and promote it and try and create opportunity. And they've jumped on this, and they've got some of their women's club players that are ex-FPC or current Blackburns, and they're helping kind of coach and just install their love and knowledge of the game into these new girls, younger girls that are coming through. In the under 11 space too, we also have Rolleston and Lincoln that have jumped on board with a female side, and they're just playing round robins in the mixed grades. But every few weeks are coming out and having a girl on girl game, which is really exciting for us. But constantly looking for those ideas or ways that we can continue to grow the game, and offer up the opportunity. And whether it's from, like, we've been out and about with activators in primary schools to kind of promote rugby and give not just girls but males as well taster of getting involved in the game, to running sort of girls series and secondary school girls sevens, and we've got our miles to a cup like competition still happening on a Wednesday. So we are, if you look at us as a provincial union, and comparison to the rest of New Zealand, we are probably doing really great in the female space. We're probably really lucky that with a little bit of pushing, people generally buy into the new ideas or allow us to give it a go. Where I think in a lot of other provincial unions it is really tough, and people quite often say, actually, that's too hard, or it's too much work, or we've tried that and don't bother. Where we're like, oh well, let's give it a crack, and hey, if it works, it works. If it doesn't, what have we got to lose? Probably nothing. So yeah, heaps happening, and I probably rambled a little bit, but
no, it's cool. So there's a lot to unpack there, which is wicked. First of all, I just want to talk about that, just real briefly, talk about that under 13s team. So my son Cash and his under 13 team had to play them just over the weekend, and by golly, these boys, they ended up winning, but I don't think the boys actually thought that the girls were going to be as physical as they were going to be. And it was wicked to see, these girls just go out there, and these young ladies just absolutely just express themselves and just go full noise into it. And you just saw their faces, when the boys tried to run it straight at them, and then they just absolutely murdered them. I'm on the side going, wow, I need to tell Liz about that girl. I need to tell Liz about this girl. I need to talk to them about this. There was some incredible, really free-flowing, expansive rugby. So shout out to those coaches that are just at Christchurch that are just training these girls to really express themselves and have a lot of fun with their rugby. But yeah, the boys, when they came off, I don't think the girls let the boys in for a try at all in the second half, and they almost came. That's how much the boys started going into the shower once the girls started warming up, and it was just so wicked to see, and even the coaches, and they did a really cool thing at the end. Actually, they and this probably goes back to how awesome was the great work at Christchurch, what they're doing within their junior space, but they awarded a player of the day to the opposition.
Oh, nice! Yeah,
it was such a cool touch there to be able to highlight someone from the opposition, which then kind of put the back foot on our coaches on the back foot. And he was just oh, actually, we've got to do this. And sure enough, they were pretty nimble on their feet, like old mate over here. They managed to find a bag of lollies, and they awarded themselves a player of the day. But it was just so wicked to see, like I said, to see those girls out there. And the next part that I just really want to touch on is we know it's one of those things. You said it really well. If we don't do it, we don't know. But if we do do it, like what's the worst that's going to happen? Like if we don't do it, like nothing's going to happen. But if we do it, like something magic can happen. And I think that's really cool that you've got that tennis side development stuff going, because like you said, I've worked in the male space, and even trying to get 30 males that have played rugby to actually turn up to training is a frigging nightmare. So trying to get girls that aren't traditionally rugby players, like that, there's like the amount of work and the amount of passion for coaches and RDOs and yourself, Liz, to actually go out there and like really push and advocate for how amazing women's rugby can be, or female rugby can be for our sport. Not and I mean our sport in general, as in rugby. Like you look at it now, like it's becoming way cooler. All of a sudden, we've got a coach that came out of hockey, now a rugby coach. You know, like the crossovers, like, because like you're probably coaching just coaching, and now it's just like the X's and O's are the X's and O's when it comes to rugby. But like how wicked that you've come from hockey and then transitioned into female rugby. Like there goes a new coach, and we're struggling for coaches already. Like how wicked is that? Now with our coaching IQ or our coaching talent pool, we can start picking like the Fraggles, and how awesome someone like Steph Broomhall coming in now to Blair's group. Like now we can, like I did a little bit of work with her, and she is like, her mind just blows me away, the way that she thinks and the way that she gives feedback. Like it's just, she gets it. And like it's so cool. Like conversations, like back in the days, we probably would never have conversations as coaches with female coaches. But now there seems to be a cool wee crossover. Is that what you see that in you obviously work for Sport Canterbury? Like are you seeing that a lot in your space now?
Yeah, I think it goes back to what we were talking around in the women's space, where there's a gap in terms of player X is really experienced, and then player Y is having their first time, and there is that quite wide gap. And I think with coach development, our coaches that are great people as well, they are, you know, they're excelling, like the Steph Broomhalls, like the Liz Worthingtons and the likes, and I suppose what we may need to look at as a community, as a coaching community, is not just the entry point to coaching, because a lot of people get into coaching because of their kids or their friends' kids or whatever that may be, but it's those that maybe that next level where their kids are a little bit older. How do we keep those coaches in the sport or in coaching, whether it's rugby or hockey or ultimate frisbee? How do we keep those coaches in the game, and again ensuring that life is easy for them and giving them what they need? And I suppose part of the conversation in my building has been around how do we connect coaches to other like-minded coaches. So those that, for example, those that we talked about, like the Livos and his wife Anna, how do we connect those to other groups of excelling coaches in that space, as well as looking at the wider spectrum and going, how do we connect those Ripper coaches to a community of Ripper coaches where they can share ideas and challenges and successes, because sometimes when you're coaching, and Liz and Riki yourself, you may have felt this, where you go, man, the whole world is on my shoulders, or I feel like an island. Yeah. And I suppose the benefit that we have had has been that we've had someone who's been along the ride with us the whole way, whether it's another coach or someone to lean on, and that's been really important for me. That was Jimbo, being able to pick up the phone and just say, man, I'm really struggling with this, and it may be a tic-tac thing, it may be have you actually communicated with your players or whatever that may be, and just having that other voice or someone to catch up for coffee with, or a group of people, because as we get older and get a few grey hairs, we really value the time that we get to connect, because as adults, what did Blair say the other day? I think Blair mentioned that BB mentioned that as a child you smile, I think it's 200 times per day, and as an adult that's significantly less. It's like 30 or 40 times a day, or whatever the number might be. But it's about finding those opportunities to smile and connect, and as a coaching community, that's certainly something that I see as an opportunity for us to look at retaining coaches, not necessarily a way of promoting getting into coaching, but a way that we've got these coaches here who are coaching for whatever reason. How do we ensure that they're getting what they need, like you say, at their ability and stage of coaching?
Yeah, that's wicked. And I probably, like you just mentioned, Jimbo is one of those guys that you go to and talk to. And Liz, you've got a whole heap to smile about after all these awesome initiatives that you've just you've not single-handedly, but you've definitely helped pioneer these this work. Like, you've done all the hard stuff to make the easy stuff easier. Who's someone that you go to like help you, like? Who's your mentor? You're coaching people that you connect with.
Yeah, great question. In terms of around my coaching, I guess for me at the moment, with being in the office, like, I have the ability to kind of bounce ideas or ask questions. And obviously Jimmy was once in our office, and again, like, just a really easy person to ask a question, or he might challenge you a little bit on something that's happening, or just someone that you could vent to, and he's like, okay, cool, like, probably bring in a little bit more of a logical lens, because unfortunately being female, run on emotions quite often. So I think it's one of those things that like, I do rely a lot on the coaching community and the community within the women's game, and I love having those conversations with coaches on the grass, or if I've got a question, or the ability to kind of come and observe their trainings, and it kind of helps me grow as a person. For a long time too, like, Whitney Hanson was that person. Fortunately, she's a very busy lady these days, so don't kind of get to connect as much as we used to. And she was just probably someone who I think she just kind of believes in anyone. Like, she will see the good and what you've got to offer, and absolutely will, like, uplift you to be the best version of who you are, whether that's a coach or a player. And I think that's why she's been so successful in her journey. But she was just someone that would, like, bring me up and make sure I was okay, or how I was going, or, hey, look, there's this opportunity, like, I absolutely can you be on board with this? And it just kind of really made me feel like I belonged in that space. Being a female coach in a very prominently, like, male game, I've attended a million coaching courses where there's 30 to 40 men in the room, and maybe one or two females if I'm lucky. So I kind of feel like I've kind of had to claw my way to stay in the game, because you could just easily I think feel really overwhelmed, or that whole imposter syndrome sets in, that you're probably not good enough, and maybe I don't know as much as these people that are sitting next to me, and what have I got to offer? And people like Whitney that be like, hang on a minute, like, or Jimmy, you've got plenty to offer, and this is it. And I think as a coach, just being really aware that, like, being unique and offering something different is really cool, because like you said, anyone could probably go in and deliver the tech stuff. Like, that stuff you can learn off the internet, you could Google it, you can get a drill, but like, all the interpersonal stuff, like making trainings really cool, like making sure everyone's, like, it's a really inclusive environment, like all those kind of skills, like, they can't be taught. Like, I just kind of really grateful for those people that at the times where I thought, oh, okay, now I'm not going to go any further, like, I'm not worthy of it, or whatever, have kind of picked me up and being like, nah, come on, oh mate, you've got this, like, you're here for a reason, and you're better than you think. So grateful for those people in my circle. But like, everyone in our female environment is pretty supportive, and you can roll up to a game and majority of us will chat and connect, and it is a lot like a family. Like, most of us know players across other teams, and rivalries when the game's on, but inside and outside of that, like mates, like chat, catch up, get on, give a bit of banter, like really good times.
Yeah, well, there's one thing you don't have to worry about, and that's being an imposter, pal. Like I've seen you operate, and you're an absolute genius out there. So you're definitely not an imposter.
Oh, thanks.
Sweet. So we're gonna move on or change tack a little bit. I guess it's a little bit around. Kind of like what's next for the female game, or what do you see next? So I might ask you this one, Liz. You've got a magic wand and it's only good for 3 wishes. What are you using them on in regards to female rugby?
I think the first one for me here in Canterbury would be that we would see our women's teams have an under-17s, or our under-17s would have women's teams. Ultimately, like I just want to create pathways for our females in our community here in Canterbury, and I think like having that partnership of that natural progression. You buy into a club, like clubs somewhere you belong, they're your whānau, like you build those relationships, and if we can get that from a younger age, I think that would be something really, really special. If we've seen a new club do that this year in terms of creating a women's space, so Prebbleton have been really successful, and finally I think after 3 seasons sort of meeting that dream, and there's just a few other clubs now. Obviously UC are in a unique position. They are a university and don't offer kind of intermediate rugby, but at times have talked and toyed with the idea. But around with them, it could be building a partnership with the local high schools around them, and creating that natural flow and progression. So for me, that would be wish 1.
Yeah.
Wish 2, I guess ultimately, like I just would love to see that equality happen in our game across the board. I think quite often at a top level, we promote to clubs and stuff, this is what you should be doing and this is how you should be incorporating your female program, and you need to be mindful that they have just as much as you give one men's or whatever, but I don't think we're promoting that well at a high level. So us at the top are saying you must do it this way, but then we're not actually like mirroring that or role modelling that to our communities. So like, and I think that's regardless of its male female game, I think it should be like equal across the board, whichever way it potentially goes. For a long time, our female athletes, coaches, like literally voluntary, that they're working full-time jobs. They putting in so much time and energy and are yet to be rewarded for it, but are still really hungry and are still there. But for how long? Like how long is that sustainable? Probably not. And we're getting into a time and space where I think it's time to make that shift. And I said if we can do that at the top, then absolutely our club should be following suit. And then the third wish,
it can't be giving yourself a pay rise.
Oh, okay. I don't know. I guess for me, my third wish would be that collectively, like in the South Island, I think we should work better, that we would come together and create really great outcomes for females. We're really lucky in Canterbury, and we have a massive pool of probably resources and players, and probably a little bit more around funding and all sorts of things. And, there's some heartland unions that sit just on the edge of us that don't have those luxuries. They don't have as many staff as us. They don't have probably as many great resources that we do have in our communities. And ideally, I would just love to see us actually come together and work together as a collective for the female game instead of being like segregated unions. I don't think that creates great outcome for the females. And I think for the development we're seeing now with Matatu, it's even more important we do that now. I have other unions coming to me all the time that need some specific like coaching, or they want some really prominent experienced female coaches to come in and deliver to their females because they just don't have that resource. Quite often we're restricted, but I always wonder why. So if I could wave that wand and get that over the line, I would be one happy lady.
Yeah, no, that's cool. That are some awesome answers. And yeah, I guess because it is just comes down to just us wanting to just help the game grow and obviously help that female space grow. And once we get it to a certain point, we can then kind of just start pulling back, and then we can focus on our own neck of the woods and let those other unions that we are helping, or even those other teams, if we are helping, because there's some wicked stuff. High School Old Boys and Maris doing some cool stuff, working together and stuff like that. So then we can like let clubs start working separately but together. I guess one question for you, Sprotty bro. What do you love about this space? Like, what is it that like next year you picking up the whistle again and going again? Maybe.
Well, I guess, yeah, as I've sort of mentioned throughout, this is the only space I know. And I suppose, what's that thing from Shawshank Redemption? We institutionalized, where the women's game is a part of me.
Yeah.
So to leave the women's game would be to leave a part of me behind. So that's I suppose the connection I have to the space. But to be honest, it's the energy.
Yeah.
Like people talk about time management and stuff, but I like to think of it around energy management and where are you putting your energy. And the reason why I dedicate, and I'm not the only one, but the reason why I choose to dedicate a lot of time to the female space is because the more energy I give, the more I get back. And the best thing about being, well, it can be the best and worst thing is, you're one coach catering to, like you guys are talking about, 30 players with 30 different needs and 30 different values and all that. But when you get it right, you get like 30 times the energy and 30 times the love, and that's why you keep coming back to any environment, because anything that provides value or that feeling of goodness is something that you're going to do again. So that's the whole find what you love and keep doing it. So that's what drives me.
No, that's wicked. All right, we've got a quick fire segment because I know that you've got to get going to your next bit, Liz. So you're inviting 3 people for dinner, and maybe you guys can have a little dinner party since you've been on your coaching journey together. So you've got 6 people coming for dinner, and you've got a 2-course meal. I need a main and a dessert.
Oh, a main. I always think if I always use if Jacinda was coming around to your house tonight.
So is Jacinda one of your guests?
Nah, she wouldn't be one of my guests. Sorry, Cindy. Sorry, Cindy. I asked a similar question last night, but it's around Graham Norton. Norton would be one for me because I love huge personalities.
Yeah.
Because believe it or not, I know I've spent the last hour and a half talking, but I love to listen and hear stories. I love great orators and storytellers. And so Graham Norton would be one. Michelle Obama is another one. Just I haven't read her book, but I know plenty of people who have. So it feels like I have read the book. And she sounds like she can tell a good story and not afraid to tell bad stories about famous people. So that'd be a good night. And then the last one would probably be to be honest, I think it would be, I'd probably get in trouble for saying this, but I'd have to get Jimmy in there.
Jimmy. Mate, talk about big personalities. Yeah. Who are your 3 people, Liz? Who are you inviting along?
Gosh, I would, number 1 pick probably would be Pink. I just think that she's really good, seems to have a great personality, like loves to kind of push the boundaries or just authentically be herself. And just think, she'd just rock up and be a really great time. Like outside of that, I think like my first initial thought, and he's not even alive anymore, was Michael Jackson.
Yeah.
So
no, that's fine.
like,
we can have MJ.
Cool.
Yeah.
Always like, it was like first ever CD like I bought growing up, and I just like love his music. I think he's cool, and he's just like, I guess, really quirky. And I'm a real sucker for the person that's really like reserved or different, and love getting to know them and what makes them tick, and the actual person, not what's on the outside. So I was like, okay, cool, like having him there would be really awesome.
Yeah.
And then number 3 would be probably Josh Cronfeld. So a friend of mine's done quite a bit of coaching. She's a female coach herself with him, and just said like he is just he's done some 7 stuff with the girls with her, and just a real magic person, a real advocate, I think, for females, whether it's players or coaches, and just a really uplifting person. But just, yeah, again, some of those stories that he's got to tell and being able to like kind of pick his brain and gain some knowledge and insight would be awesome.
That'd be wicked. And so you're cooking mains, you just said that. So what are you cooking for mains? Liz, you're on dessert.
Well, this is
cool.
Yeah.
As you'll notice, my last guest, it was a tactical decision because, mate, there's no better or more passionate chef than Mr. Jimmy Sinclair.
Oh.
Yeah, and he's going to provide the music, the record player. We've got the Fat Freddy's playing.
Yeah.
And I reckon Jimmy's cooking up. One of BB's gnocchis.
Oh, gnocchi.
Yeah, BB's got a recipe. So
you're passing the buck on to Jimmy to be cooking.
Oh, absolutely. That's how you get the brother along.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do what he loves best.
Yeah. Right? And Liz, I guess you're on dessert. What are you cooking?
Yeah, I was just kind of anticipating some kind of fish dish when you said that Jimmy was going to cook, with the amount he gets out spearfishing and bits and pieces. But surprised me with the gnocchi. Probably for dessert for me, I would rock with, I don't know, like, it's kind of thinking like a creme brulee because I really love them, and or a lemon meringue pie or chocolate sauce pudding, or
geez, a wee tasting plate by the sounds of that.
Like, absolutely. There you go. Yeah. Like little mini bits of those delicious desserts would absolutely rock. With some really nice, I guess, homemade vanilla bean ice cream. But I love vanilla ice cream. So
yeah, I know, wicked. All right, Liz, this one's for you. Who's the best coach you've had and why?
Probably the best coach that I've ever had was my dad. Yeah. So growing up, my dad was real passionate sportsman. I played rugby his whole life, ran marathons forever. Unfortunately, I think he hoped when he got a son and a daughter that the son was going to be really sporty. Yeah. Unfortunately, he wasn't. Yeah. And I was a real daddy's girl, so I was like, okay, cool, I'll take you in for the team and I'll play sport. Yeah. But like just super knowledgeable. Like he's probably back in, I guess, a really traditional setting, was just really around having fun and uplifting players. It was always built around, like, it didn't matter how you kind of, as long as you got out there and gave it your best and you had fun. Would love like a great chat throughout the week around, I guess, how things went, or he was always full of praise. Like, it was never that you didn't do this enough. It was always like, oh, have you thought about, doing this differently, or kind of challenging your own thinking. And yeah, I think right up until he had a cardiac arrest about 6 years ago, like actively was at everything, like would turn up, whether it was mine or if my brother did do anything, or once I had kids, like he was the guy at trainings, at games, at quite often, just up until recently, I think Rolleston Rugby Club have finally given up on trying to talk him into coaching. Yeah. But he said, there's no way I want to coach unless it's for a specific reason. If it was for, one of his kids or his grandkids, but he'd be my ultimate coach.
That's wicked. And Sprotty, what's one of your favourite rugby memories coaching that you've had?
Coaching. There's been some real good trips. some good trips with the Ford Foundation girls down to Oamaru. Coaching in the final this weekend was a really special experience. It was my first time coaching in the women's final, but a lot of our girls had actually had either been there and done the job. So it was cool to actually learn, and I felt like the player. And it was almost like I was learning off them. And I guess the way that the girls performed in the weekend, I was massively proud, even though we didn't get the result. It filled me with absolute with pride and ecstasy around seeing a group of girls that I've worked with for the last 6 months just absolutely come together and play like there was no tomorrow. And before the game, Mike, Ben, and I, as the coaches, we usually almost paper scissors rock to see who does the coaches chat at the start. And they're usually pretty straightforward and game focused. And I said early on in the week, I said, give me that time. And it was nothing about rugby. It was all about letting out the emotion and I suppose inspiring myself as well as hopefully inspiring the girls, and just basically bringing some energy. So that's certainly a moment that I'm proud of, as well as another moment this year. I've really been trying to develop my vulnerability and sharing, because there's a lot of people out there in the community that know me, but they don't know anything about me. And so with the girls this year, I made a real big effort to share, and we actually got to play Suburbs at Suburbs, which was where I played my first game of under 15. It was my first game of club rugby. Got to share that story with the girls, and just coaching an awesome group of girls this year has been fantastic. But it's hard to nail down one, and that's why I've given you about 15.
No, that's all good. That's wicked. Liz, actually, this is for both of you guys. Just real quick, what's one bit of advice you'd give a young Liz starting out on her coaching journey?
One piece of advice would be just to absolutely grab hold of anything that comes your way. So any opportunity, any support, any potential relationship in terms of building that with coaches, take it. Take that opportunity. You never know where it's going to take you, where it's going to end up, but it's going to absolutely help grow you as a coach, and probably 100% inspire you to carry on with your journey and growing.
Yeah, that's wicked. And Sprotty, what's one bit of advice you'd give a young Sprotty starting out his coaching journey?
Young Sprotty would be, it would be around take your opportunities, and don't be such a scaredy cat, and if you say no to things, then I think Liz was alluding to before, then nothing will happen. So say yes to things that come along your way, and the other thing too, which I'd probably tell anyone, is leave your ego, take your ego hat off. Everyone wears a hat with the 3 letters on it, EGO. So if you can remove that, then you'll be open, you'll be vulnerable, and you'll be accessible, you'll be inclusive, and all those quality things that people enjoy being around. So that's my advice.
That's wicked. I guess the final question, just real from your perspective, Liz, and I'll get your answer too, Sprotty, is what does being a coach mean to you?
For me, being a coach, it just gives me a real strong sense of purpose and belonging. I think when you get to a place in your life where you can probably no longer compete as an athlete, you kind of miss those connections. Some great friendships come out of playing sport and of being a part of a team. And I think being a coach allows you to still have that. It just, you can't beat that, turning up and everyone's kind of stoked to see you, or your special team handshake or, the songs you play before a game, and being a part of all that and part of the journey. And like Sprotty said for him on the weekend, like, getting to that grand final, like if you can no longer be an athlete, like being a coach is absolutely the next best thing. You don't miss out. You get to gain, I think. It's best job.
Yeah, wicked. Sprotty?
Yeah, what does being a coach mean to me? I guess I came up with something a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, and I wrote it down. And I remember I was in a bit of a tough spot, and then I wrote down, "Your life is not your own." And at the time, I didn't really understand what I meant by it, but I think it was around what Liz just talked about there, around giving. Because I'm really privileged in my life to have been given a lot. Like, I haven't had to really ask for anything because I've been handed everything on a silver platter. And so, yeah, I guess that's what coaching means to me. It's around giving everything I have to others and the benefit of others and the enjoyment of others. And that's probably why I proudly wear, the Sport Canterbury logo, and catering and working alongside great coaches, work in the Canterbury system and even university and even the underage system where I get an opportunity to give to as many people as possible, whether they are players or referees or other coaches or spectators and parents and things. That's what coaching means to me.
Oh, that's wicked. This has been awesome. It's been I'm super energized, and it's been super pumped just having this conversation with you guys. I guess just to kind of touch on your one, there's a little whakatauki that I got taught that kind of sums up what you're talking about, and also that fits in well with what Liz was talking about. So it's ko koe ko koe. So what's yours is mine, brother, and Liz. Sis, what's yours is mine, and what's mine is yours. So we're here for each other, and to have such two magnificent advocates for female sport, and in particular female rugby, kind of doing some wicked stuff in the UC space, and obviously wicked stuff out there in the red and black community. Liz, on behalf of the community and everybody, thank you very much for sharing your stories and sharing your time with us. It's been a wicked privilege. And if anybody wants to get into coaching or female sport, make sure you get in contact with Liz or head down to UC and see Sprotty. But there's clubs out there wanting to take you all on. So thanks, team, and I'll let you guys go.
Thanks, Riki.
Cheers.
Thanks, Sprotty.
Sweet. Cheers.